Surf's up. It's time to carve some H2O. But we're not talking about the ocean. That's right. Today we're surfing the white wave with a company that's been making snowboards since the sport's beginning. We're hitting the slopes with Burton Snowboards.
People are passionate about outdoor equipment. Get this. Americans spend more than $20 billion a year on gear. But no one ever really sees how their stuff gets made.
Well, that's where we come in. Each week, we throw open the factory doors and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how your favorite gear is made.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Border View Lodge.
Some people carve wood, others carve pumpkins, but some people carve snow.
It might be sunny and 75 now, but soon resorts like this will be covered in snow and filled with people strapped into snowboards carving sideways down the mountain. Chances are good that board is a Burton.
Burton is one of the most influential snowboard brands in the world, and they've been around since the very beginning. Believe it or not, snowboarding's roots come from a much warmer form of H2O, water. The urge to surf on snow led early snow pioneers to invent the snowboard. It's hard to believe that what's now a world-class sport was once forbidden at most resorts in the world.
I remember when I first started, we couldn't find anywhere to go snowboard. We would like clack out these letters and mail them off to ski resorts to say, hey, you should think about letting into snowboarding.
It was the efforts of people like Rob and Burton founder Jake Burton Carpenter that kept the sport alive.
Jake, his energy was a very competitive guy in a very friendly way. His entrepreneurial spirit, I think, was infectious.
In the mid-1970s, Burton started making snowboards in his garage, and in 1977, the Burton brand was born. Despite its popularity, it wasn't until 1982 that snowboarding was allowed at a resort for the first time. Fast forward to 2020, and snowboarding is one of the most popular winter activities in the world.
Snowboarding throughout the 90s and early 2000s was like a rocket ship.
A rocket ship, and Burton is in the driver's seat. Headquarters sits on the shores of Lake Champlain in Burlington, Vermont. And true to its foundation, it's a place of passion and innovation.
The people at Burton are incredibly passionate and driven, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we all get to work on products and strategy and campaigns around a sport that we're all incredibly passionate about.
It's a culture of collaboration. There's a lot of different personality types that are working together to create, I firmly believe we make the best snowboards in the world, and the only way that happens is when people are working seamlessly together.
Walk onto campus, and it won't take long to get the vibe. Headquarters is where the snow magic begins, and before any board hits the slopes, it's born at Burton's R&D facility, Craig's.
Craig's is building next to our main building in our campus in Burlington. And inside we have a small prototype / manufacturing facility to make snowboards. Craig's is where we go to try out our ideas. We have design that happens in there. We will make prototype snowboards where it's been designed in the morning, we can build it in the day, and the next day we can take it out on snow and go and ride that.
When Made for the Outdoors gets back, we get to see those ideas come to life.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Border View Lodge. Ice Castle Fish Houses, AQUARIUS Home Services, Car Arms, and by Keystone Light. Keystone Light, always smooth. Celebrate responsibly.
Welcome back to Made for the Outdoors. What started as basically a wooden plank has developed into the modern day snowboard. At Burton, their goal is to make the best boards in the world and have some fun while doing it.
My name is Scott Seward, and I am a senior design engineer in our design innovation team at Burton Snowboards. My role is to take all of our snowboards and the projects around snowboards from idea conception through development, prototyping, and proof of concept. You know, ideas come from all over when we get started on designing either a new snowboard or new snowboard technology. Ideas can come from our engineering team, our team riders, and our athletes, really from all different avenues.
As far as R&D is concerned, there's no lack of input at headquarters.
In our hard goods product department, we are all very passionate snowboarders.
It's a really interesting process because we do a lot of that work in-house. We have designers in-house, and then, you know, it goes through the whole graphic design process in collaboration with, you know, our team riders. So if there are models in our line that our team riders are riding, they're brought into the process early on, and they get to evaluate and, you know, collaborate and contribute to how a board is going to look.
Between their sponsored athletes, customers, and employees, Scott and his team have their hands full with feedback.
You know, we kind of come to a consensus on what the viable projects are that we want to bring through the development process. Once we've identified what those projects are, you know, it'll get kicked off with, you know, a brief as to the expectations of what we're going to make, who's it going to be for, you know, what the rider profile is.
A snowboard has a handful of defining features: perimeter shape, bend shape, which includes rocker, camber, or a hybrid of the two, and materials used, which determines the board's flexibility. The combinations are endless, so it's up to Scott and his team to narrow it down.
You know, once we're at a point where we think we want to try something out, we want to put it on snow, we will then kick a design over to Craig's.
The R&D facility across the street is named after the late snowboarding legend, Craig Kelly. Inside, the designs come to life.
So we'll deliver a package of information over to Craig's that includes drawings about what the shape's going to look like, all the materials that are going to go into, you know, this board or this technology.
Although they vary from board to board, the base materials in a snowboard are pretty much the same: a plastic base, a wood core, and a plastic top sheet. While the plastic arrives pre-cut, the team cuts the wood core to shape in-house.
At Craig's, we have the ability to make our own wood cores. We will actually receive wood in a plank form, so a rectangular plank that we will then cut down and transform you know, all the different wood species to assemble each of the different core designs depending on what model we're building. That allows us to, you know, innovate, develop, and prototype new wood cores and new designs without needing to go to an outside vendor, without needing to rely on our factories.
Just one of the many features that gives Burton total quality control of their product. The wood cores are cut to shape and assembly begins.
So a snowboard gets constructed in what we like to call a sandwich construction, which is really the stacking of layers on top of each other. So that base goes down, and then there's a layer of epoxy, so a layer of glue that gets set on top of the base, then a layer of fiberglass goes down, another layer of epoxy glue, and then the core, and again another layer of glue, and then top glass, another layer of glue, and then the final graphic top sheet goes on top of that.
As we stack our sandwich, we can't fail to mention one of the most important ingredients: the graphic top layer.
You know, the top sheet of a board, the graphic on a board is really, it's a large canvas for artwork. And I think that's something very unique to snowboarding, is that we've really embraced that large canvas that can be, you know, a show of your personal taste as well as, you know, your appreciation for artwork and for creative visual art, which is pretty cool.
Stacking only takes about 8 to 12 minutes, and then it goes straight into the press.
So the press is what's going to apply heat and pressure to basically heat up the glue, kick off the reaction that happens within the glue, and then also set the board in its final bend shape, whether that be camber or rocker or some type of hybrid bend shape.
If the board is like a sandwich, think of this as kind of like a panini press.
After about 12 or 15 minutes, the pressing cycle is over and that whole assembly of materials comes out, and you basically have a ready and pressed board. We just have to finish shaping and grinding it, which unfortunately takes up at least half the whole process.
Grinding the edges of the board is the longest of the assembly process, but it's well worth it. A quick rinse and our snowboard is shred ready. But who gets to take the first runs down the mountain? Find out when Made for the Outdoors returns.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by All Seasons Garage Door, Polaris Industries, Driven Coffee, L&M Fleet Supply, and by Warner's Dog.
Welcome back to Made for the Outdoors. We shaped, glued, layered, and glued some more until our snowboard was complete. Strap on a pair of bindings and it's ready to hit the hill. But at Burton, assuring quality is a must.
We have a QC lab right on site, and we'll do a whole litany of strength tests on that new board. If it's during the winter and we can go ride it in Vermont, that's the best case scenario.
Working with Burton in any fashion sounds pretty cool, but there's one role that might top the rest.
We have a on-snow testing team that coordinates all the testing. They will do a lot of testing themselves, but they also have a long list of testers, both locally here in Vermont, across the country in the US, and even internationally.
Official snowboard tester. Not a bad gig.
I think being able to achieve a work-life balance the way that we do, I think is one of the key factors that brings the culture that Burton has.
At Burton, the passion for snowboarding is undeniable.
Having us all snowboard, we can test the product, and we're deeply invested in what a high quality snowboard product is at the end of the project cycle. And over at Craig's, it's really important to have that snowboard blood in you, and the products are a result of that.
But it's more than a sport, it's a lifestyle.
Responsibility has been ingrained in the business since day one, 1977 in a barn in Vermont. And it's shown up in different ways, and it's grown over the history of the company.
Burton is making huge strides to improve their processes and reduce their impact on the world around us. It's Jen's job to make sure Burton is walking the talk.
So our pillars of sustainability at Burton are our people, our playground, and our product.
After all, if there's no snow, there's no snowboarding.
So if we look at snowboards, for instance, we're really heavily focused on impacting chemistry and the climate crisis through our work there. One thing that we've done with our snowboards is to actually remove the lacquer top coat. So starting in this past winter season, 2020, none of our snowboards have a lacquer top coat anymore. And that reduces both, toxic chemical use, which can have negative impacts on people and the planet, but it also helps with our goal of carbon reduction.
They've already made huge improvements, but at Burton, they never stop charging ahead.
So we have a goal of, over the 5-year period from 2017 until 2022, of reducing the carbon footprint of all of our hard goods by 20%. We have solar panels on our office building, so not the Craig's building, but just next door where most of the staff sit. And we have 330 kilowatt hour array up on the roof there. So that it creates about 25% of the electricity that we would use on our campus there in a year.
Whether it's using eco-friendly materials, standing up for climate change, or using solar energy to power their offices, Burton puts their community first. 2020's coronavirus pandemic led to another call to action: producing face shields.
When we went into lockdown, all of us were hearing, on the news or from friends about the serious lack of PPE all over the United States. And Scott and I started to talk, we're just like, hey, what could we do? And we utilized Craig's to create this PPE.
Really amazing just to see the global innovation response to, what is just a very basic supply chain that seemed to be coming up short. So I, quickly found some, free, open share designs that were being circulated around the internet for face shields. We started printing a few at Craig's, and we sent them to some local hospitals. And over the course of 2 months, we made about almost 7,000 brims, and then we cut about 22,000 replaceable shields that can mount onto those brims.
When called to action, Burton answers. You're watching Made for the Outdoors.
Hey there, I'm Bill Shirk, the man about the woods.
And I'm Alexa Score.
If you're a fan of Made for the Outdoors and want to know more about the show, be sure to like us on Facebook.
And follow us on Instagram for cool behind-the-scenes looks at what we're working on.
And don't forget, if you've got a show idea, be sure to drop us a note.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Polaris Industries, Otter Tail County, Minnesota, and by Pearson's Salted Nut Roll.
Welcome back to Made for the Outdoors. What was once a backyard hobby is now a world-class sport.
I started out 1984 Christmas. I got my first snowboard and was able to go snowboarding at a resort, the only place within 100 plus miles near where I grew up that would allow them, a place called Mount Tone in Pennsylvania. It was about 80 to 100 vertical feet, and there were no snowboarders there. But then fast forward, another 10 years into the mid-90s, the sport just exploded. Continued to do so for the next 10 or so years, and it's been amazing to watch. I just look around and see all these kids getting into the sport, and it's been really cool along this journey line from, going onto a hill, there's no one there, to tons of snowboarders. However you want to get down the hill, it's really cool just to be outside doing that.
Despite the uptick, Burton's priorities have always remained the same. Put people, products, and the planet first.
Again, another part of the culture, one of the things that keeps me at Burton is the investment in the sport itself. I think for Jake, things really started to click when he put the sport before the company. And that's still true today.
I think at the end of the day, it comes from, everyone really wanting to design, sell, market, provide the best product and the best experience that we can for a sport and an activity and a hobby, whatever word you want to put next to it, that we're all incredibly passionate about. And that's super, super rewarding.
I was snowboarding at Stratton Mountain, waiting tables at night, and I decided that I would go up to Burlington to work for Burton just to see what would happen. And here I am 25 later still doing it. It's just like, it's the people. I think I'll boil it down to that. It's the people, and it's the people plus the sport. So there's two things, the combination of really good people and the sport that has been part of my life since I was 12 years old. It just it's still fun.
Years of innovation and progression, and they don't plan on slowing down anytime soon.
We're not stopping as far as our innovation and our development plans. Like, we are still trying to bring new technologies that will bring more people to the sport.
After pushing design and innovation, taking care of their employees, and saving the planet, there's only one thing left to do. It's time to ride.
That being out in the winter, hiking up a mountain, stopping at the top, looking out, listening, appreciating life, and then you get to push the adrenaline button on the way down, and that's like a well-rounded satisfaction for me. It's just the sense of freedom, of choice, of when I'm at the top of a mountain, you can let go and let the sport happen to you.
A freedom that is hard to mimic in other activities and other aspects of life. You have the ability to choose your own line, to draw your own line down, whether it be a trail or an open backcountry slope or a wooded tree run. You have the ability to include your own freedom, flow, and feeling of what snowboarding is and how you want to experience floating on snow, which is just an unbelievable feeling.